Welcome back, everyone. We are officially back now, so we can consider season 2 officially started, even though we did consider last episode season 2. But now we are back for good until I take a 1-month break in April. But I'm on holiday. What can you do about it? If you're new here, give us a like, a comment, and subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure you give us 5 stars. It does make a big difference to us and we really appreciate it. So yeah, get involved. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, I think. Nowhere else. We are nowhere else. But I don't think anyone will be impersonating us just yet. I sound out of breath. I am. But we're going to crack on.
All right, guys, welcome along. As Luke said, season 2 starts now, and I am buzzing to be back. It is a month since our last episode.
But it's a week until F1 is back.
So we can actually say it is race week.
Yeah.
And we actually haven't said that in a while. So, yeah, I'm buzzing for this. But we've got a lot to talk about.
We do, because we've got, Drive to Survive has come out.
As we are Drive to Survive fans.
Yeah, you know how it works. Testing has happened.
Yep.
And like you say, it's race week. Testing has given us a lot to talk about, let's be honest, because there is a lot to dive into with that. We are going to get around to it. We're going to redo our predictions based off of testing. Now, we're not idiots. We know that you have to take everything you see in testing with a pinch of salt. But I think there is still knowledge to be gained from testing, and we will give you our thoughts as much as we want to hear your thoughts. So comment down below if you agree with us or you think we are a pair of idiots. We love to hear it.
But before we get on to any F1 news, let's take a couple of weeks back. You and I, where did we go?
Well,
this is actually quite exciting.
And this is also F1 news.
Well, it's F1 now, is it?
Yeah. So in collaboration with New Era, I believe this is a New Era cap.
Yeah,
although
turn right. No, that's...
Oh, yeah. So if you're watching, you can see I'm showing off a McLaren hat, New Era. But they were kind enough to invite us to the Red Bull Racing factory up at Milton Keynes, where we spent the day getting toured around the factory. We actually saw the RB19 being built. This is... in anticipation. I'm not even sure it's anticipation. I think the caps are out now, aren't they?
Yeah, and obviously they're going to have different ones throughout the year, but...
Yeah, New Era have collaborated with Red Bull Racing to bring out new caps, and they're actually very nice. I do have one downstairs. I should have worn it. I could have shown you. But that was pretty sick. We got to see the RB19 being built by the mechanics. We got to watch them do a live pit stop training session. They are incredibly quick. And it is incredibly loud, can we just add? Yeah. They were wearing, they had, what do you call, earplugs and ear defenders.
Well, it's kind of one of those where you see them, preparing and going, putting the earplugs in, putting their ear defenders over, and you're like, oh, this is just,
Seems a bit unnecessary, lads.
All of a sudden, they started, my God, I thought I had a burst eardrum. They were loud.
It was loud, but, yeah, we were definitely well and truly spoiled there, because we got to see... We were in areas where, they had said, basically, people don't come here. I don't even think they really know why we were allowed there on that day.
No.
So there was a handful of other content creators there as well. Content creators. I don't know if we're content creators, but we were there in the mix somehow. I blagged getting Matt in.
You did, yeah, you did. And I wasn't invited first. It was more like, have you got a driver? No, I just asked Matt.
So I need a cameraman. So, we have a little reel coming out on that. So make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram so you can see behind the scenes on the day, because I also murked it on the simulator, the little racing sim.
Let's digest it a bit, because when we got there, it was... firstly, I pulled up in the Mercedes in a Red Bull garage, which is weird in itself. That was one of the first comments.
Some funny looks.
That was one of the first comments. You go in and you literally see a Red Bull car in the, the front, in the reception area.
It's an AlphaTauri, wasn't it, where we went in?
Was it?
Yeah, we took the picture with the AlphaTauri.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. Yeah.
But that was the sick thing. You then walk into, is it MK7 it's called?
MK7.
They've got a plethora of championship winning cars there. Like Seb's cars are there. Max's car from not last year, but the year before is there. And you've got all these different Red Bulls, you know, from like the very start.
Mark Webber's.
Yeah, well, do they really, you know, don't talk about Mark.
But some of them are sick. And you just go into this, and you've probably seen it on somewhere, you know, where they do interviews and they've done previous car launches in the past and that. And it is phenomenal, isn't it? You go around, you've got like, in glass boxes, you've got Max Verstappen's like, you know, worn shoes from his championship winning year. You've got, it's just mad.
And like going around the factory and seeing everything, it definitely makes you appreciate from every team how much hard work collectively goes in to getting everything together, piecing everything together. You know, even like when we saw I guess they're electricians. I'm sure they have more technical names than that, but the people that do all the electrics,
you can find them in the yellow pages, can't you?
Yeah, all the wiring and stuff. You see them doing all this, like, it's insane. And
like the circuit boards, you know, it's just like it takes you back to when you were like at school. Did you ever like do stuff like that?
And you see stuff and you think, nah, can't wrap my head around that. And we had a chat from Jonathan Wheatley.
Yep.
And we even heard from Max. Max was there.
Yeah, he was decent.
He was rushed off, so we didn't get any pictures. Otherwise, we would have loved to have shared them with you.
But it was just, obviously, we talk about F1 weekly, and you go there and you see how it works. I've been to McLaren. I've been lucky enough to go to McLaren in the past, and I've had a tour around there, and it's pretty similar. But we had a bit more in-depth look at Red Bull than what I had when I went to McLaren. But you walk around, and even that, like, you know, NASA type room, for example. So right in one of the other rooms, you walk in, and on race day, basically, just imagine NASA. So you've got all those like not astronauts, because they wouldn't be there because they'd be up in the actual spaceship.
So, you know, ground control, where you've got all the computers and they're going up in like an auditorium sort of setting.
And
they were the first team to do that, apparently.
Yeah,
Red Bull. So they've got all these like hyper intelligent nerds basically watching all the data throughout the races just so they can gain an edge somewhere. And
you got some people who are literally just listening to the radios, like anything which they can then go back to and go, oh, by the way, you know, Lewis has got a slow puncher, or Lewis is actually struggling with his rear tyres. Or it's so in depth, it was ridiculous. And I knew it would be, but actually seeing it was just mad.
Yeah, so I think you can probably book a day out there, to be honest, can't you?
I don't know.
Probably not. I don't think you could get the tour that we got, but not that we're flexing. I'm not flexing. I don't want to sell you a dream that you can't get.
No.
But check it out if you can visit any factory. I'm sure would be quality, but I'd never done it, and I would recommend it. And what I will say is, I mean, you see, I wear, you know, I'm a Mercedes fan, but I will not very loyal in terms of the merch I wear. I'll wear anything. And what I will say is the hat collection looks quality. I even asked them, I saw one, said when that comes out, I want it.
Oh, what was it? It was
Don't spoil it.
Oh yeah, okay, I won't tell you. But no,
when it's out, hopefully I get it and you'll see it.
Yeah, no, shout out to New Era, because I've been wearing I say wear hats, I don't often wear hats, but you know, I'm a NFL fan. Obviously they do that, basketball as well. So I've known New Era for years. So yeah, it was great.
This is not an ad, by the way. We didn't have to do anything. They just invited us, and we just thought, wow, that's cool. And it was cool. So we thought we'd share it with you.
Yeah. And thank you for taking me along as your driver.
Yeah. You're more than welcome.
Yeah. It was a bit weird where you made me open a door for you. Didn't really like that bit, but we allow it anyway.
If you come as my bitch, you will be my bitch.
Right, shall we get into some F1 news? That's what we're here for. So, Lance Stroll.
Yes.
I feel sorry for this geezer, because it is just over a week before, you know, the season starts. He's done all that work, all that, you know, training over the winter, and he's out cycling, and he's now got some wrist injuries. I don't know if it's both hands or...
The rumours I read are that he's broken both wrists.
Yeah.
That's quite a significant injury.
It is.
Particularly for a driver.
But would you then be available to go? Because he's questionable for this weekend.
No, he's not. I think
what they're saying at the moment, Djokovic is on standby. So
I think they know. They know exactly what is happening with Lance Stroll, and
So why would you delay it? Why wouldn't you just go out and say, look, this is where, because it's not going to, it's not like a.
Because I think it's a little bit embarrassing. Realistically it is. I know these things happen, but it's embarrassing to have your driver get a major injury like a week. It was the week of testing. A week before the season starts.
I bet Lawrence is pissed.
Yeah.
I bet he's absolutely
I think rightfully so. Like I say, these things, I'm not saying it's Lance Stroll's fault. Obviously, we don't even know the circumstances of the injury. Don't even know what the injury is. We're just spitballing here. But yeah, it is embarrassing, in my opinion, for the team. I've heard, Crofty was saying apparently Seb has said he'd fill in.
Well, I heard that as well. How good would that be?
Seb and Alonso
in the same team
in an Aston Martin in 2023.
I'm all for it. But it looks like Drogovic would be the.
I mean, if I was Drogovic, I'd be a little bit pissed off.
Yeah.
What's the point in being a reserve driver if you're just going to call up someone else? Do you know what I mean? You'd be fuming, wouldn't you?
You would. Hulkenberg, I know you're with Haas now, but would you mind just coming back for a race? No, come on.
I don't know. I know you like the football analogies. You're sitting on the bench and Pep Guardiola turns around and he's like, nah, I'll take that guy out of the crowd.
Yeah.
So he just comes on. You don't get a run in. I would not be happy if I was Drogovic and someone else was racing in that seat other than Lance Stroll.
I just find it weird that actually, if you are Aston Martin, just announce it. If you know that what his injury is and you know he's not going to be racing, what have you got to lose? I mean, it's not like why would it be a secret?
Kind of feel like they don't want to give away the extent of the injury.
But why? What have they got to lose from it? Do you know what I mean? They're not going to gain anything from going, oh, by the way, he might be back next week. I know he's not here.
But it could be like a psychological thing of like, Lance is our main driver. Now we're going to have to use a backup, Drogovic or whatever. Maybe it gives that mental advantage to their opponents. Where now, and we'll get on to testing, but let's assume McLaren are their opponents.
Yeah.
McLaren are going to be thinking, well, we've got the edge. We've got both our drivers. I think it is just that, purely the mental thing of let's not give away the position completely.
Yeah,
I understand your point fully.
I get what you're saying. I just find it weird because from Drogovic's point of view, surely you want to be going, oh, do you know what? Yeah, I'm racing this weekend. Everyone knows it. This is what I'm going to do. He probably does know it.
He knows the plan.
It just seems a bit of a bizarre one. I mean, I suppose it's pretty much, do you remember Kubica? When he had his injury.
His horrible injury.
Yeah, his horrible injury. Do you know what I mean? It's those type of things. For a team, it is... I always feel sorry when you look back to Kubica and his injury. He was linked to some of the big teams. He was really starting to perform.
That crash was horrific
as well. It was, yeah. And
he was lucky to be alive.
Yeah. And I felt really sorry for him because he was on the verge of going to, that big move in his career. And... these injuries, and we've discussed this before in the podcast, and these drivers, they play football, they go cycling, they do all this intensity, but you very rarely see
it's weird.
An injury.
Injuries are not something that you actually associate with Formula One.
Yeah,
it's not like football or rugby where it's like, oh, he's out for 4 weeks, but you can't really afford that in F1. If you miss 3 weeks. 2 weeks, that's the difference between winning and losing a championship.
Well, I suppose recently the ones we've seen are things like COVID. That's taken drivers out. But
I mean, we should say, obviously hope Lance Stroll is back ASAP. It's good to have everyone on the grid. And, if it was a nasty injury, then, hopefully it's a speedy recovery and it's a full recovery. But like I say, I still stand by the point. I think Aston Martin will be a little bit embarrassed by this because it isn't a good look going into the season. And I'm not saying it's the fault of anyone.
No, I do feel sorry for Stroll in the sense of you started to see some really good performances from last year. He's now coming into this year where they've got we'll get onto testing in a minute, but it looks like they've got a competitive car.
Yeah.
And actually you've got two-time world champion in Fernando Alonso with you, and you're kind of like, okay, this is my time.
He's probably fuming.
Yeah, now you're starting the season on the back foot. Potentially, we're speculating here. It could be one race, it could be two, it could be three. It could actually be half a season. You don't know.
If it's 2 broken wrists, he could easily miss the first 3 races.
Yeah.
Because then we've got a big gap.
Yeah, but after that, the recovery in that, if it's both wrists or whatever, that's an extensive recovery. So,
especially because you don't realise the force that they're loading into their hands, wrists and arms during a race. It is going to have to be fully recovered.
It's fine if you're just driving on a straight line or you're doing like something like NASCAR, you're going in a circle, but you're literally... The
steering was just like that the whole time.
Just use your mouth.
But he will definitely be kicking himself. Like I say, not even because it's through any fault of his own, but he'll just be thinking, why?
Yeah.
Why?
No, I hope he has a speedy recovery because I was actually intrigued to see how he does this year alongside Fernando, and I'm sure we will see him on the track soon. But again, come with any injury like this comes that change in your mentality. You maybe a bit more scared about doing something, or you're a bit more, So it's a real setback. But hopefully we see him on the grid soon. But it does look like Djokovic is going to be the driver lining up alongside Alonso and Aston Martin this weekend.
It would be sick if we got Seb.
I would rate it. I wouldn't be disappointed. Out of nowhere, Djokovic is outside getting ready to get in the car. He walks on with a helmet. You think, that's Djokovic. All of a sudden, helmet comes off. Sebastian Vettel.
It could happen. Yeah, I mean, chances are, knowing our luck, it will be announced tomorrow. Podcast is out on Wednesday. It's currently Monday. You'll all know, and you'll be like, what the fuck are they even talking about? So, might have just had a pointless 10-minute conversation, but anyway, we move forward.
Anyway, moving on. In other news, it has been announced today that the Spanish Grand Prix will be changing its track configuration. The final chicane will be removed, leaving the circuit to its original last 2-corner layout. So, if you don't know, you've got this weird, when you're coming into what is a final corner, is it? You've got this weird chicane that you go round, which then takes you around onto the main straight. What they've done now...
It's a bit shit, in my opinion, that chicane.
It is.
What is the point in it? You're a bit disappointed about this.
I kind of like it because it gives you that bit of unpredictability. Is that a word?
I would rather it be a corner that you can overtake on.
Yeah, but I like the fact that actually it opens it up to some errors. You look how many people who lose a bit of understeer into that corner, or do a bit of a spin, or look at Leclerc over the last couple of seasons. He had a bit. Was it last season or the year before? He had a struggle going into the corner, had a spin. Then that brought the other players into contention. Drivers into contention. Why am I thinking? You said football. I've got players on the mind.
It's not my problem. I am all for a nice chicane, right? But I think it works placement-wise. Look at Monza, right?
Yeah.
The first chicane, it works better somewhere like that where you've had the opportunity to overtake before going into it. Whereas that chicane, as you're coming round like the right-hander in Spain, there's not really a massive opportunity to overtake as you're approaching that chicane.
Yeah.
It's like not compared to like Monza, where there is every chance you're making an overtake down that straight, and then the two of you might be heading into this corner, or you might have to play that right. I'm going to have to outbrake them here, but then that exposes me at the chicane, and I just feel like it's a bit of a pointless corner.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not devastated it's gone. And I'm completely with you. I think if it increases, more chance of overtaking, then it's a great thing.
Have you got a picture of the track?
I have.
Because I was looking at it earlier, and it does just... so they're just going to...
they'll just go...
That's so much better.
It'd be much better for racing, I agree.
You come around there, and then obviously you've got the turn before the chicane, which is where all overtaking opportunity has just gone. Whereas now, you're going to have to watch it from that last, don't know whatever you call it, the big right-hander, as you're coming around. There's going to be a huge opportunity to overtake now. I think, personally, it improves the track.
Oh, no. Look, as I said, I'm not disappointed. I'm just saying... Sometimes mixing it up a bit, knowing that actually it gives that driver the,
it opens up the
To more
chance
mistakes.
for a mistake.
Yeah.
I think this opens it up for closer racing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So, yeah.
So I agree.
Either way-
Like, yeah,
Either way, I'm not disappointed.
I didn't. I think Spain's a great track. Either way, to be
Yeah.
fair, but that chicane was the worst part about it.
That's going to be sick on the new F1 game, though.
That will be very good.
Right, shall we talk about testing?
Yeah. Well, we could talk about. Have we had all the liveries out since the last episode?
Yeah, all the liveries are out.
Yes, I know, but I mean, like from the last episode, have we given our thoughts on it?
No,
Because obviously
we haven't actually.
we had liveries, then testing. Now, I think everyone is in agreement here that the W14, the new Mercedes, looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think definitely from what I've seen on social media, but I know from my own point of view, it's not even a contest. That car looks absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I think the last time on the podcast, Mercedes were throwing hints and they were kept popping up with like their old black livery, and we're kind of like, surely if they're trolling us here, we'll be livid.
Yeah.
And when
you're
they came
right.
out with the black livery, we were delighted.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. Who's your top three out of the liveries?
It's going to be controversial. Mercedes, number one.
Yeah.
I really like the Aston Martin.
Do you?
I don't know why. I just like it.
Yeah.
They've got a bit more metallic-y. I can tell you what I really don't like. The McLaren.
Yeah.
I love that papaya orange. The colour of my hat that I'm wearing right now. It is such a nice colour. And I appreciate a lot of teams are going more black now because they're just stripping the paint off to expose carbon fibre and reduce weight, basically. But I hate it.
Yeah.
There's way too much black on that car for me. I think they've got such a nice colour to work with. Put it in there. I would probably say, I'm not sure if the livery is my top three, but the actual shape of the car, I love the shape of the Haas.
Do you?
It looks, to me, from the side, closer to the old style of car, that we had 2 seasons ago. It looked like a bit more square. But even though I love these new rounded cars, there's just something about the Haas. I think they've nailed it with. I know the way it looks in terms of shape is all to do with aero and not like stylistic, but aesthetically, I like it. My number three, probably the Ferrari. I think it's a good looking car.
So, my top three, Mercedes.
Yeah.
Which I was torn between my 1 and 2. Okay.
There's nothing even close to that Mercedes.
No. Hence why I went with Mercedes. Alfa Romeo. I love the red and black.
It does look nice.
I think in watching it in Bahrain in the night, it looks sick. It looks so clean. So yeah, for me, Alfa Romeo. Third,
Red Bull.
Red Bull. They basically brought the same cars last year. I would have to say Ferrari. They've removed the yellow, brought in the black, and it looks sick. It looks good. But I'd have to agree with you. The Aston Martin looks clean. I mean, it looks pretty similar, but it just looks clean. I do like the Williams still, and I said this last year. I don't know why. I just like the blue that the Williams come out with.
Do you know what? I thought I liked this at first, but I don't. I've decided I hate it. The fucking Duracell battery. I fucking hate it. I don't know why. I thought I liked it. I don't.
Alpine.
And it actually runs like it's powered by Duracell as well.
Yeah.
And that is not a compliment.
Alpine. I don't get me wrong. I like the fact that you come out of the blue, 2 different liveries. You're going to use a pink livery at the beginning. Keep the pink.
Yeah, just go with the pink.
The pink looks so much nicer. I don't know what you guys think. Let us know. Comment down below. Which one do you prefer, the blue or the pink? For me...
And again, I think they've got a bit too much black on it.
Yeah.
Which, again, I know this... I'm sure that every single team, the chief designer, whatever they're called, is shaking their head, thinking, we didn't want the black on it. we had to.
Yeah, well, it's like
So I don't want to go
weight
in
saving,
too
isn't it?
hard on it, but you know, the black is frustrating on a lot of the cars because it kind of doesn't work with a lot of the colors. I think I want to see more color, and this could be a bigger issue. You know, is the weight limit too restrictive if cars are having to strip paint?
Every car next year will just be black.
Yeah, I don't remember a time where cars have looked like this.
No.
You know, I want to see more colours. You know, and this might sound ironic when I talk about the Mercedes being my favourite looking car, but they've had a black car previously.
Yeah.
It works with them, and I think with that Petronas green, it looks unbelievable. But I want to see the cars bring their own character. You know, I don't think the McLaren should have that much black on it. I don't think the Alpine should have that much black because it looks like they've been forced into these liveries.
Interestingly, I don't rate this Mercedes as high as the 2021 black livery Mercedes.
Disagree. Although I'm sure performance-wise, we do agree.
Yeah. let us know. I don't know why. I think it's just a shape in that 2021 season. For me, it just looks sick. And the black livery then just looked great. But yeah, no, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Mercedes fan, but I love the livery. If we discussed last year, I would have said the Mercedes was probably mid-table-ish.
Oh,
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it at all. It was near the bottom for me.
Yeah. For me, the worst livery this season is AlphaTauri.
Oh, that red.
Yeah,
I understand it. They've got is it Orlen as the sponsor?
Yeah.
So, but come on, they're taking the piss. That doesn't work at all.
It just doesn't look. It doesn't really like. It's not really a wow factor for me, in all honesty.
Because the AlphaTauri is a car that I've always thought actually looks pretty clean.
Yeah.
You know, just it's simple, just the white, the dark blue.
It looks good.
But it works.
Yeah. Add in the red.
I don't know what that's all about. Well, I do. Obviously, it's sponsorship, but like, come on,
Red Bull. Like I like the car. The car itself looks. The livery looks good. It looks
Red Bull
nice.
is just Red Bull, but I do wish they'd go back to. Was it obviously when we were there at the factory? I think it was Seb's 2011 car that was the shiny one.
Yeah.
Bring back the shiny Red Bull. I like the shiny Red Bull. That's all I'm going to say.
Can we bring back the shiny McLaren as well? The silver.
Oh, yeah, that was nice.
It's not silver, is it?
Yeah, it was
silver. Yeah. Silver and red.
It was cool.
It was decent.
Bring back shiny cars.
Yeah. Yeah. They all have to be shinies, like your football stickers you have.
The shiny's just better.
Yeah. Let us know, what is your favourite livery? Comment down below.
And what is your least favourite livery?
Yeah.
I think we should, more importantly, discuss the performance of these vehicles.
Yes.
As much as, it's pleasant that they look nice, there's no point if they're slow.
No. F1 testing. So, heading into this, I was optimistic. I was thinking, okay, from what I'm seeing, the black livery, we're looking good. Mercedes is going to be up there.
As a Mercedes fan, he's talking.
Yeah, as a Mercedes fan. However, didn't really go the way I was thinking it was. However, Red Bull, what can I say? Absolutely smoked it over the 3 days. They look quick. Their reliability looks good. Actually, majority of cars' reliability looked reasonably good. I know there's a few cars that packed up. Okay. As I said, I know there's a few cars, but on a whole,
they barely got any laps.
No, they didn't. So day one finished with Max Verstappen. He did 157 laps. So he had a good amount of laps.
Because he had the whole day.
He had the whole day. Perez didn't get in. One of the biggest surprises this weekend was Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. He was P2. He managed to do 60 laps.
The Aston
he looked good.
Yeah, the Aston Martin looked hooked up all weekend.
Yeah.
It looks like a really good car. I think, did I say in the last podcast, there were rumours that the Aston was a really good car?
Yeah.
And I think, again, have a hefty pinch of salt, but it's looking like those rumours are true. I'd say almost as true as the fact that Ferrari, I think, also have a rocket ship. Straight line speed, they were head and shoulders above the rest over the entirety of testing.
I mean, the SF23 Ferrari, I mean, P3, P4 in day one of testing, they look quite solid. They look good. They're putting in some quick laps. Between, Sainz did 72 laps, Leclerc did 64. So again, they had a good amount of run-in from both drivers. But they look reasonably good. And I wouldn't say they were like 4/10 behind Max. Not far off, really.
No, and I think come race day, it will be a lot closer. But it seems weird. From testing, it looks like Ferrari have been able to gain... And again, we don't know what setup they were running. They might have been running reduced drag, so that's why they were getting higher speeds. But it seems like Ferrari has now taken the straight line speed advantage, but Red Bull are now maybe finding that advantage in the corners that the Ferrari had for a lot of the season with ridiculous traction and grip.
I mean, when you look at the qualifying pace and the race pace over the weekends, Red Bull stood out. They were leading the lines there. But going into day 2 of testing, again, one thing for sure, I don't think anyone expected Zhou to be P1.
Can I just say, right, I want to talk about Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about Aston Martin being dark horses. I don't think they're dark horses. I think like they've put in good times over testing.
Yeah.
I think Alfa Romeo have gone under the radar.
Yeah. I mean, he put in 132 laps.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen was P2. Fernando Alonso, he was in the top 3, P3 there. He was almost 6/10 down. Nick de Vries in the AlphaTauri. Nico Hülkenberg in Haas. Sainz in Ferrari.
Day 2 was a strange day.
Yeah.
In terms of
where
like
drivers
the
were.
leaderboards, yeah.
But I think a lot of drivers were doing different strategies. A lot of people doing long runs. People are trying different tyres. So it wasn't...
Yeah, so I was thinking this, right? So I saw, obviously, Zhou finished P1 on day 2. And I didn't really think much of it. But take me to day 3 and tell me who finished second.
I'll take you to day 3. And day 3... Oh, no. Day 3 saw Hamilton, P2.
That's not what I meant. Was it P3?
Was Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri Bottas.
Take me to P2
it was almost
on day
smooth.
3. Yeah, it was always smooth.
But, so I saw that and I was like, hang on here, like, are Alfa Romeo cooking something? Right, we know that it looks like, judging by the data, that Ferrari have produced the fastest engine.
Yeah.
I was reading an article and it was all broken down of like top speeds, and the Ferrari powered cars are up there. Although actually the Alfa Romeo was towards the bottom end of that. But I think that there could be something here that we should just watch out for. I know it's testing, but the Alfa Romeo, based off what we've seen over the last 3 days of testing,
Yeah.
the Alfa Romeo and the Aston Martin have jumped both Alpine and McLaren.
Yeah. The thing is, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. So Perez did 133 laps on day 3, okay?
Yep.
Hamilton did 65. Bottas did 131 laps.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I say take that with a pinch of salt is he's obviously out on the track a lot more. He's familiarised. He's got a strong amount of laps in there. And they are throughout that day, he's tried all different strategies possible. Obviously, Leclerc, Sainz were P4 and P5. I honestly don't think there's going to be much between these two this season. I think Sainz has really stepped it up.
What it does look like over testing is that Sainz is definitely more in tune with the car than he seemed last year. Because Leclerc was noticeably quicker throughout more or less the whole of the season. And we're going to say, we know it's only testing about 1,000 times throughout this segment, but Sainz, to me, did look in tune with that car, similarly to Leclerc. There didn't look like there was that gulf of class that maybe we saw last season.
Well, Alfa Romeo, Bottas, he finished 3rd. He did use the C5's tyres, and that's kind of where his, Yeah,
but Lewis used C5.
He did, yeah.
And Perez got his
B2.
time on the C4s.
Yes.
And he was, 2/10 quicker?
He was... Almost three tenths quicker, yeah.
So that what I will say.
But so Leclerc was on the C4s as well.
Yeah, but he was about what 3/10 down on Lewis.
Yeah. He was about 3/10. So yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to gauge really, and obviously this weekend we're really going to see who's there.
Friday will give us a bit more indicative results, and then obviously Saturday come qualifying, that's when you're going to really know. I still see people saying Mercedes are sandbagging. Now, you're quite disheartened by the Mercedes situation. You think they're still just P3, but I'm guessing potentially you're now worrying about Aston Martin as well.
So I'm thinking Mercedes are P2, P3. At this moment in time, I can't see anyone getting close to Red Bull. If there is anyone who's going to get close, it probably would be Ferrari. I think they're the closest to Red Bull at the moment. I just hoped that, and I say this, we're Mercedes fans. It was rubbish for us last year. It was rubbish for us.
Yep. But I think it was rubbish for a lot of fans. I mean, in terms of variety on the podium, last year was one of the worst years.
Which is weird, considering they changed all the, the cars, the regulations to make it closer racing, so other teams would come into the fold.
Which although this might sound contradicting, I do think we had better racing. I think when cars were closer to each other, it was better. It
was like a pendulum last year, wasn't it? So it started off really close racing. Then we had a few of the races where actually there was just massive gaps. Look at Suzuka, for example. Max was like 29 seconds ahead. Yeah, and it swings and roundabouts what close racing you had.
And then you had like Imola where it was just DRS train city.
And no one could overtake.
But, I think those will be ironed out in the regulations. So my opinion is, I think we are closer to a three-way battle at the front than we think.
And I hope you're right. Not only for being a Mercedes fan, but for us as F1 fans who can see, I want to see, don't get me wrong, and we said this last time, I would love to see Lewis Hamilton win his 8th title. But what I'd love the most is that each week you had different drivers winning. You had a variety.
At least you didn't know who was going to win.
Yeah, it wasn't a clear cut. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is my hot take for the season. I genuinely do believe we are closer to a three-way title battle than testing let on. I think Ferrari were holding a little bit back.
Yeah.
I don't believe Mercedes was sandbagging. I just believe that there's more in the tank. That I think they're going to get out of it. We know they're bringing a new rear wing to Bahrain, and we know that they've got a pretty well planned out upgrade.
Yeah.
Process. I know every team brings upgrades, but it's reasonable to believe that Mercedes are now on top of the porpoising issue, which really fucked them last season because they couldn't sort of focus on any other development. They just needed to stop the car from bouncing. It's reasonable to believe that now their development is going to push the car a lot further forward than we saw last year.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Red Bull are going to start as the strongest team, and they are going to develop efficiently, smartly, as they always do. But I believe that Ferrari and Mercedes are going to be there with them. And I think we're in for an interesting season. I'm not buying the Aston Martin stuff just yet. I don't think they're going to be up there with the top three. My judgment from what we saw is that they are going to be the number 4 team without a shadow of a doubt.
It really depends how Alpine step up. I don't see McLaren in the mix in that top 4 or 5 battle. I don't see it.
Alpine looked poor over the testing weekend, and interestingly, it was do you follow a guy called Brake? He's got a lot of R's in his name.
No.
He used to be an engineer for Red Bull, and I read one of his articles. He was saying, he was like, you know, if people are performing really well in testing, it's generally not that indicative because you don't know. It's like if throughout testing teams are not performing well, you know, consistently not performing well, that's usually quite indicative that there are issues.
Yeah.
Alpine did not perform well at all over the weekend.
No. I mean, if you're looking at it, they finished...
McLaren did not perform well at all over the weekend, and sadly, neither did Williams.
No. If it is true that an Aston Martin have, you know, cracked it, and we did say last year, didn't we? We think they're... And Fernando Alonso is not stupid. He knows that he wants to go to a car that is going to challenge. As we said, I don't think they will challenge for top 3 this season. I think it was coming over the next couple of years. It's coming if they continue on the way they are. But yes, I think Aston Martin are a top 4 or 5 team this year. I do. I wouldn't write off Alpine just yet, and the reason why I say that is Alpine are and I think Alpine have always been very inconsistent in their either results or performance. And you saw that last year when they're fighting, you know, McLaren. You know,
that's because they had a car that could decided whether it worked, whether it was going to work or not, like on a daily basis.
No, I know, but even some of the performances, they were down in like, you know, P10, P9, but they still managed to get the results and get those points to get to P4.
Yeah, I do think I'm definitely not writing off the Alpine. I think I am writing off the McLaren at this stage.
But we said that this time last year, they're in exactly the same position. Look how awful they were in Bahrain last year.
That is true.
They were shocking.
They had that horrible brake issue, didn't they?
They both started on something like mediums or hards, and they were literally fighting at the back. They were awful, and everyone was writing off McLaren. Somehow, they still came through fighting for P4.
Even they themselves have said the car is not where we want it to be.
No, and even apparently Lando Norris, according to Will Buxton, walked past and punched one of the walls in frustration. Not hard, just like one of the, you know, you're hard.
It must be frustrating though. I mean, particularly for a driver like Lando, who is so highly regarded, and he gets given a car that, as it seems, is not going to be able to... It looks like it will barely be able to compete for points at the moment, let alone podiums.
Do you know what my gut feeling is? And I may get slated for this. I honestly think this is Lando's final year with McLaren.
I think he goes to... Do you reckon he could go to Red Bull?
I think he'll go to Red Bull. I think he'll take Perez's seat.
That would be some driver lineup in a very quick car.
Yeah.
I think that friendship would turn sour very quickly.
But then what we're hoping is that, you know, it'd be kind of like George going to Mercedes. He finally gets his seat in the top team, and they're actually... The following year, they're just awful. Like what happened last year.
Oh yeah, what he goes.
That's what we're hoping. Lando finally gets his dream. He thinks I'm going to win. You know, get wins and everything, and he doesn't win a race.
Because it's definitely. I know Lewis is like a natural born winner and whatnot. You know, like wants to win and blah blah. But there's a gulf in age there where Lewis's experience. He's done it all. He's been there, done that. He'll be willing to help out. Say more than Max would. Lando, rightly so. They're young. You still go and achieve as much as you can. But, yeah, I think that... I'm not sure whether that driver pairing works. I think it's very good and very strong.
Yeah.
Just not sure if it works. But I can see it.
Yeah, We'll see. Let us know what your thoughts on that.
Because...
but you've also got to remember, Norris is 23 years old now, okay? He's been with McLaren for a while. He hasn't won a race. Danny Rick has won a race. He's come into that. He's been there for 2 years and he's won a race.
He's been and gone.
He's won a race. And, you know, if you're Lando Norris, you've got to start thinking, actually, if I want to win a title, if I want to start winning races, do I want to be one of those drivers who sticks with the team for so long, doesn't get a race win? If anything, McLaren are going backwards. They're not going forwards.
100%. I mean...
Which is mad to say, considering all the success McLaren have had over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, is it time they start looking to the top?
Yeah.
And do we need, you know, is Zach Brown the right guy for the job? You know, it's just, there are going to be questions raised. Like you say, they were terrible at testing last year.
Yeah.
Bahrain, the race didn't go well for them either, really.
It was awful because I remember we watched it together.
Yeah.
And we were like, what are the McLarens doing? They were literally fighting the Williams at the back.
But the season did turn around for them, and but again, they still went backwards. They got P6, didn't they?
When the constructors?
Yeah.
That's P5.
That's what I meant.
Because Alpine...
They got P4 the year before.
Yeah, but they were fighting for... Right up to the last race, they were fighting for P4.
They were, but it's still a step back.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it's a step back. But what I mean is, considering how bad the start of the season was, people were going, oh, they're like P8, P7.
They turned it around, for sure. They turned it around.
I think it's so hard to...
If I had to give my early season...
You want to do that now, yeah?
Prediction of writing a team off, I'm writing McLaren off.
Okay, should I give you my top 10 from 10 down to 1?
So we did it last time, our top 10, and we said we're going to give ourselves one more opportunity to turn it round, to change it after pre-season testing.
Yep.
So I think we went for...
I can't even remember what I
went for a pretty standard one. I think it was Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, I think it was Alpine, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, Williams, something like that. I think I actually put Aston Martin 9th.
I did the exact same
as last. Were there.
My one was the exact same as what it finished last season.
Yeah, I think mine was pretty similar.
Which, for the people who then go, oh, he's just copied last year. I didn't copy last year. I'm literally giving my prediction.
It could very well end up exactly the same as last year.
Yeah. So should I give you my from 10 to 1, what I think is going to be?
Yeah.
So in P10, this is only from what we know at the moment, okay? It will change, I'm sure it change. Williams.
Yeah, agreed.
In P9, AlphaTauri.
P9 AlphaTauri?
Yeah. I think you've got Nick de Vries there and Tsunoda. Tsunoda obviously lost Gasly. Gasly was a very experienced people. He was very reliable in catching points, getting points, pushing them up there. You've lost that now. Tsunoda is very inconsistent. He's going into his 3rd season. He's got to prove himself. He's got all that pressure. If he wants to be the main driver, he's really got to prove himself this year. Do I think he can do it? No, in all honesty.
Okay.
Nick de Vries coming in. There's a lot of hype about him. He's doing the next big thing. Again, he needs to prove himself.
I think Nick de Vries will be a great asset to that team. But
will he be a good asset as Gasly was?
I mean, only time will tell.
No,
the cop-out answer, but I do believe he will be. Gasly didn't have a great season last year. Let's not forget that.
No, he didn't. But then the car wasn't great last year. No,
but Nick de Vries came in a Williams, the worst car on the grid, one race and got points.
Yeah, but
I think Nick de Vries is. I think he's going to surprise people this year. But I actually think I agree with you. AlphaTauri, P9.
So you literally just made me feel bad for that, and then you agree with me.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, good. So P8. This one was difficult because I'm between Alfa Romeo or Haas. So I went for Haas in P8. I then went P7 Alfa Romeo.
See, now this is where we changed. So I'm Haas P8.
Okay.
But I'm McLaren P7.
Ah, are you?
Yeah.
See, yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one for me. Those three were the mixture for me. So where am I? P6, I went for McLaren because I do think they'll turn it around. I don't think they'll be as good as they were. I don't think they'll turn it around as much.
I'm going Alfa Romeo P6.
Oh, okay. P5, I've gone for Alpine.
I've gone for Alpine.
Then I've gone for Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
The typical, sparkly glasses or whatever we call it. I've gone for Ferrari in P3 and Mercedes P2.
Exactly what I've gone
and
for.
Red Bull P1.
I'm exactly the same.
So,
other than McLaren and Alfa Romeo,
I think it's those three.
We're the same.
Yeah, I think it's from P8 to P6. That's the difficulty.
The one thing I believe Ferrari are going to have a really good car again. I just can't trust their strategy team at the moment.
It's a tough one because I actually think they're probably going to be more solid this year.
I mean, if they're not, then they should just quit, just retire. Because if you can't learn any lessons from last year, give up the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let us know what, at this moment in time, okay, who is your top 10? So if you're picking the constructors and you had to put money in it, who would you pick? Let us know, comment down below, but I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait for the season to start. I honestly can't wait for the season to start.
Talking about the season start, it's probably time that we talk about Bahrain a little bit. We're just going to give you our predictions, just because, you know.
We want to.
Yeah, we do that every week when there is a race.
So do you want to know timings?
Yes, this is the most important part of the episode, so make sure you listen because you're not going to want to miss a thing this weekend.
So P1 on Friday, March the 3rd is 11:30 till 12:30. P2 is 3 till 4. And then on Saturday, we got P3, which is 11:30 till 12:30. Qualifying is 3 till 4.
Lovely.
And then the race...
With any luck, it will clash with a Liverpool game, so I don't have to watch that.
And the race on Sunday is 3 p.m, which is weird. I thought it was 6, but I looked at a different time.
Well, it's probably 6 local time.
The local time, yeah, that's where I got confused. I didn't know whether to bring this back, but it made me laugh so much. And I want to see if you kind of remember, just for a little test, okay? Mm-hmm. Number of laps at Bahrain.
Bahrain is 50-something. 58.
57. Oh. That's good guess. Good guess. What is the lap record? You should know this, okay? If you're an OG, you know that Luke loves Bahrain on the F1 game. It is his go-to. So you should know this.
Lap record?
It was actually held in 2005, the lap record.
Oh, that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Which is weird, actually. That doesn't make much sense. Yeah, I suppose it is.
It's probably like a 128.
131.4. Pedro de la Rosa.
Oh, he's an OG.
He is. Okay, so if you're looking ahead to Bahrain, who is your top 3?
You know, it gets really hard this season because I definitely believe that Sainz looks more in tune with the car.
Yeah.
Leclerc is Charles Leclerc. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be strong. I think George Russell is going to be more confident than ever. The car is definitely looking better. That Mercedes, whether you think it's going to be quick or not, compare it to the W13 last year, it looks like a completely different car. Lewis Hamilton is Lewis. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be hungry as hell to get back to winning ways. You know, I don't want to shit talk Perez. Unless that Red Bull really is much quicker than the Mercedes and the Ferrari, I don't think he's in with a sniff.
No.
Because if it is, Max Verstappen's going to dominate anyway. Because, again, it's Max Verstappen. Yep. I think still at this point, it would be silly to give the race win to anyone but Max.
Yep.
My complication comes between thinking, okay, well, is the Red Bull really a spaceship? Because in which case, you'd be stupid not to give it to Sergio Perez. I do believe the Mercedes and the Ferrari are going to be closer than we think. I hope that's true. It may not be. It's just literally what I think. Reading stuff, watching testing. But I'm actually going to go Max, Lewis, George.
Oh, okay.
And that is, it's by no means like bias.
No.
I do believe Mercedes were holding a little bit back. And I think it's going to be incredibly tight. I think you could have given the podium to any 5 of those drivers.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you on that one. My top 3 is Max P1, Perez P2, and I'm going to go Sainz P3. I think from what we've seen in testing, teams are still, trying to make changes. I just think Red Bull are so in tune with their car that actually those two for the race one will just to dominate. But then I think Sainz will come in, and then I think from Saudi onwards, you're going to start to see the Mercedes come into play.
I do think maybe that is a better way to look at it, and maybe I am being a bit like blindly delusional.
But do I think we're going to see a double Red Bull DNF? No, I don't think we're going to see that again.
But then you never know.
You never know,
because we did see that last year.
But that was a new era of that car.
And I definitely agree. It looks like, with the Mercedes, for example, it looks like, okay, they need to go back and they just need to fine tune it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Red Bull, no, they've got a car and it's just like, so long as you turn up next week, you'll probably win the race.
It's just a rocket, yeah.
And the Ferrari, again, I think they need to fine tune it a little bit. I think they've got the straight line speed. I think they just need to get a bit sharper in the corners.
Yeah.
Which we know it's capable of. So yeah, I would agree that that Red Bull is coming first. Yeah. If you're a betting man, go Max Verstappen. If it doesn't come in, don't blame me. You took the bet, not me.
We've spoken a lot about a lot today. Shall we finish on Drive to Survive? Yeah. Obviously, we're renowned Drive to Survive fans. That's what we are.
Our claim to fame.
What did you think of it?
So I haven't actually finished it. I got like 2 episodes left, and I fell asleep through the last one I was watching. I actually quite liked it. I thought it was better than last season.
Yeah.
I think it was nice. We got a lot more Bonotto content.
I like him.
Same. Which I think is really good after, ourselves included. Everyone gave him a bit of a hard time last year, which I don't think was wrongly deserved. But I think it was nice to see like a human side to him, especially as like an English fan, non-Italian speaking. All we see really is him speaking Italian. You just don't see that human side to him.
Yeah.
I don't feel he doesn't show. You rarely see emotion from him.
He's a cool guy, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think you saw on that. Particularly, was it the first episode with Gunther where they're driving?
Yeah.
I think it was really good. You saw like a very human side to him.
Yeah.
And I think it showed him in a very good light.
No, I'd agree with you. He kept calm through those. He had a lot of pressure on him, and he kept really calm. I got some points which I felt, for me, were quite evident. I want to get your opinion on this, and you guys at home, okay? So, Mick Schumacher, very early on in the season, it seemed like he was not wanted by Gunther.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, okay, this guy crashed in Saudi Arabia, caused like $1 million worth of damage. He crashed in Monaco. He also had a collision in Miami with Sebastian. It took him until, Silverstone to get his first points. Was it Silverstone he got his first points?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. But it felt very evident that no matter what Mick did, he was not really wanted by Gunther. Yeah. Because what I found quite weird, when K-Mag came in, which was great as well, you saw parts of it where he was talking to K-Mag about Mick. And it felt kind of like, if you're talking about another driver to your other driver, it seems a bit of a weird dynamic.
Yeah, and obviously it is hard to tell because we don't know the timings on everything.
No, yeah.
But yeah, if you're taking it at face value and these are sort of, it is in, I don't know what you call it, it is in order, the stuff we see. Then yeah, it did seem like that sort of Gunther had sort of made his mind up very early on. He just didn't say it, basically. No. But yeah, you did get that vibe.
Whether that's true or not, we're only going by what we saw from the episode.
Yeah, because I appreciate it's been edited to hell as well. I mean, like I say, we don't know if everything is
in chronological
chronological order. That's
yeah.
the word. So yeah, you got to take it at face value. We only see what you see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely seemed he was sort of just like thinking of the next step.
Yeah.
Before even really giving Mick a chance. Even though I kind of still agree with Mick losing his seat, I just think bringing Hulkenberg in wasn't the smartest move.
No, and we discussed that last year, but I don't think it's the right move for them. Let's talk about Piastri.
Those like 2 episodes, because it crossed over, were brilliant.
They were good. I feel quite sorry for Otmar. I actually really liked him in this episode. I don't know why. He just made me laugh. He just seems like a cool guy.
Seemed very down to earth.
Yeah, he was someone who probably really stood out for me in these episodes.
Because he got shafted by Alonso, and then he got shafted by Piastri.
Yeah. And then he goes into McLaren and he's going, right, I'm going to take you to court. And then all of a sudden you see Zach Brown just go, okay, let's come up with an idea. Do you want Danny Rick? He's rubbish, but we'll give you Danny Rick. No, why would you want that? So yeah, I thought he came across. Piastri, I can't really tell, again, down to editing, whether he came out in a good light. And again, you didn't really get the full reasons on why he didn't want to stay with Alpine. It was very much kind of like, they've invested £4 million worth of investment into Piastri, and then all of a sudden he's like, do you know what? See you later. I'm going to go to McLaren, which ultimately could backfire on him this year with how bad McLaren are.
Yeah, but then based on testing, Alpine didn't look great either.
No,
but yeah, I think at the end of the day, Oscar Piastri just did what he wanted to do. I don't think if he felt that was the right thing for him to do, he doesn't owe anything to anybody. At the end of the day, it's business.
It is.
And
but if someone develops that much time in you and gives you those opportunities, wouldn't you? Part of you, I get it's a business, and I get it's a cutthroat business, and I get you have to you go with what's best out there.
So look at it this way, right? Because I know the point you're trying to make. If Oscar Piastri then stays with Alpine and doesn't perform very well, do you think they're going to say, well, we've invested loads in him, let's give him, and he stayed with us, let's give him another year? No.
Well, they did it with Ocon.
What do you mean?
Well, Ocon, he's been with them for a while. He hasn't had some great seasons. They were going to get rid of him at some points, and they stuck with him. They give him, and that's probably a different type of.
It's rare that it happens. I also think Ocon is, Ocon's French, in a French team. It's good for business, if you know what I mean. But I think you can't take those risks based on the assumption that, you're going to get the same loyalty back, because I don't think that's how the business works. And you saw that, even with Christian Horner talking about Checo.
Yeah.
Saying how he'll have to go in spring if he doesn't start performing. It's like, Christ, he hadn't been that bad.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he had been below par, but fuck me, he was really good the season before.
He gets a win at Monaco, gets a new contract.
Yeah. So I think Piastri was right if McLaren was his dream and that's what he wanted, and that's what okay, fair enough, Alpine might have spent $4 million on him in however many years, but Piastri's been doing this his whole life.
Yeah.
He's worked towards an end goal that he feels McLaren gives him that opportunity. I'm not saying his decision was right or wrong, by the way.
No, and at the end of the day, you do what's best for you. You're a driver. Your career can be either a year or it can be 20, and that's all depending on the decisions you make.
And at the end of the day, right, why did Alpine not speak to him before announcing him as driver?
I wish they showed that, and they actually, because they didn't really go into depth with that, did they?
They didn't make it clear that they hadn't spoken to him.
No, they just showed loads of clips of people like Christian Horner going, if I was Alpine, I'd be embarrassed.
But yeah, and rightly so, but they've only got themselves to blame. Why would you not speak to him?
But don't you find it the weirdest thing, right? So you're Zach Brown, you've just had, Otmar in your office going, we're looking at taking legal action because we feel like actually, you owe us money. All of a sudden, Zach Brown's going, shit,
Yeah,
and he's like,
because he's just had to pay Danny Rick 20 mil to sever his contract.
And then you're like, do you know what? I've got a really good offer. You go into the Alpine garage and go, right, Danny Rick, who we think, we're a similar team in, where we think we're going like P4, P5 type team.
But he's not good enough for us.
He's not good enough for you. But you want him? Yeah, he's really good. I mean,
they considered it as well, by the sounds of it.
I don't know if they ever really considered it. But this was my other point. Danny Rick, and I generally believe this, he would be in that Alpine seat if he hadn't screwed them over before he went to McLaren. Because obviously before Alpine, they were Renault.
Yeah.
So Danny Rick obviously screwed them over. They invested so much time, everything into Danny Rick. I think he would have had a sniff at that seat if it wasn't for him screwing them over in the past.
Potentially. This can be the opposite side of the Oscar Piastri thing. Maybe if you do show loyalty and respect, it does come back to help you rather than haunt you if you don't. But I think Otmar made the point. We got Pierre Gasly. That's a win.
But we said that last year, didn't we? Pierre Gasly deserves that seat.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
That's a win for them. So, what went on, water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned now. I think it's Alpine's fault for not talking to Piastri first. It sounds like it's Alpine's fault for not putting a contract on Alonso's table sooner.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he handled it in the best way. I'm not saying Piastri handled it in the best way.
No.
But I do think it was a product of their own doing.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. So far, with the whole series, I was a bit disappointed. Don't get me wrong, some of the episodes, like, I would probably say 3 or 4 episodes were brilliant. The cost cap was really good, good.
That's the one bit I haven't got to yet.
Oh, haven't you? Okay, see, that's quite good. The Alpine McLaren saga, that was good. Great. The Haas bit was quite interesting to see behind the scenes, of like Gene, when they're talking, Gunter speaking to Gene and that. But what I found, and I don't know if you notice, they go to the same races, okay, but they're basically showing some of the same clips.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. It's like we saw Silverstone like 4 episodes in a row.
So I was a bit disappointed, and they missed, for me, some key parts out. So Suzuka, the Gasly incident when he almost went into the back of a truck, didn't even cover that. Okay, no. They brushed over.
They didn't even show the red flag at Suzuka.
No, they showed the signs crash, and that was it.
Yeah.
They really, really just brushed over K-Mag and Haas getting their first pole. That was very much like you're seeing in the last episode, very much brushed over. I would have liked to see a bit more in that, because I thought that would have been... They didn't really touch on Brazil at all. They actually didn't talk about Brazil. They never really...
Which was K-Mag's first pole.
Russell's first win.
Russell's first win. But you have the Max and Sergio beef. Yeah.
So they touched on, again, very briefly, George Russell winning in Brazil. Again, for me, that was a cool part, considering how bad Mercedes had been over the season, to actually get a win like that. But they didn't even touch on the Sergio and Max beef in Brazil. Again, a massive talking point they just missed. I don't get it. And I don't know if that's something which, from their point of view, they're like, look, we've already kind of, really gone quite heavy in on the cost cap part. Do we want to stay out of the whole... Because obviously Max Verstappen has only come back into being on Drive to Survive this year after, blocking Netflix the year before.
Yeah.
Did Netflix just go, do you know what? Let's hold off a bit we don't want to chuck, too much fire at Red Bull.
I feel like Netflix wouldn't be that soft.
I don't know. I like the fact that Alonso said, I'm still a bad guy. He was very like, I still don't like him. Horner.
Straight to the point. Horner telling Toto to change your car.
Valid point.
Yeah, weirdly, we agree. I think to an extent there was some safety concern, but...
I felt Toto was quite childish in that whole behaviour. And don't get me wrong, as again, I'm a Mercedes fan, but I felt Toto, how he handled himself in that press conference alone with all the team principals was actually quite embarrassing. I felt quite embarrassed for him.
It seemed like just a man under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think
Cracks starting to appear.
Christian Horner was sitting there thinking, well, our car's not porpoising because we've nailed it.
Yeah.
So I think he had every right to sit there and be smug and say, well, change your car then.
Well, hang on, no. Say what he properly said.
Change your fucking car. Which,
Valid point.
Yeah, you can't be any clearer than that. And it's not often you're going to hear us sit here and agree with Christian Horner, but here we are. Soak it in.
Interesting point from the episode you're going to watch, but you'll know this anyway. So obviously, you know how much Red Bull overspent. It's like 400k or something like that, from what it said. And they said, obviously, it was an admin issue. They ticked the wrong box. I want to get your view. So if you can message me once you watch that episode, let me know. He was very much like, it's 400k. That's not going to make much difference at all. All other team principals, like any, extra money that you put in is going to make a difference in performance. The way Red Bull pushed it aside was really quite interesting. It's nothing. I don't know why people are getting so frustrated about it. I found that quite bizarre because actually that's £500,000.
I think what would be interesting now is if someone overspends, such as a Mercedes or a Ferrari. Let's see how Red Bull react.
Oh, I bet they'll go livid.
Oh, you wouldn't hear the end of it.
I still think the FIA were soft with their punishment. I
just don't think it didn't set like a strong enough precedent.
No, I think the FIA, and you'll watch this episode, but it's kind of like Zach Brown came out. He did that letter, didn't he? He was very much like I don't agree with this. It's classed as cheating. The more you spend, the more you've done, and the whole point of these cost caps was to actually make it fairer across the board. But obviously, in this case, it wasn't. Mm-hmm. I just feel like there wasn't a big enough stance from the FIA to go, do you know what? This is never going to happen again. This is why. This is a punishment you're going to get. Instead, £7 million fine, which is nothing really, small change to Red Bull and a bit of wind tunnel time. I don't know. I think it was very soft, but we're over that now. It's a new season.
Look, it's been dealt with, and that's that. There's no point dwelling on it. But no, I am interested to see that episode. But that's it for the.
Let us know what your thoughts are on Drive to Survive. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
You see, I'm actually enjoying it. I'm probably at a high 7.
Okay, cool. Let's finish on fan questions. Each week, now we're back weekly, we'll put on Instagram, so check us out on there. Questions for you to send in, so we will answer on this podcast. So, Joseph Peach has asked, are Mercedes back, ? As a Merc fan, I know the answer is no.
Well, why are you asking the question then?
Basically just answered and gave a question, gave a question, answered it.
Yeah, like I say, I believe genuinely that we are closer to a 3-way battle than testing has led us to believe.
Yep.
So don't write them off just yet.
No.
Compare it to testing last year. That really was curtains. It was bad news.
Yeah, it was.
This is nothing of the sort. So let's just wait and see.
Mason _CM22 says Aston Martin to get a win this year.
Ooh, it looks very possible. Yeah, I could see that happening, especially with Fernando Alonso. The car is quick.
Yeah.
Whatever they're fueling that car with, it's working. I'd like to see it.
I don't think they'll get a win, but I think they could probably get a few podiums this year.
Yeah, a podium is a lot more likely. It is. I think a win is entirely possible, but it would be circumstantially.
Yeah, it would be due to retirements or something like that. Yeah, no, I agree.
But I think, if there's going to... we saw Ocon win a race in 2021. We saw Danny Rick win a race. And I know that it was circumstantially, but...
We've seen Pierre Gasly win a race.
I think if there's going to be a team that's there, Aston Martin are looking very likely to be be the team to pick up those lucky wins.
Jake has asked, who will do better between Ocon and Gasly this season?
Oh, that is a good question. Who's my money on? You know what? My money's on Gasly.
Is it?
I do rate Ocon. You know, I think they've got a really good driver lineup. I just think Gasly, I like him. I just think he's a little. I think he's a little bit better.
Yeah, I probably agree with you on that one. I think Gasly just edges it. I think Ocon has come on a lot.
Yeah.
As we know, he's a race winner. In his mind now, he's the lead in that team. You know, he had Fernando Alonso the last couple of seasons. He's now in that team, and for him, he's a number one driver. That's what he thinks. So I think you're actually going to see a real improvement from him this year, especially with Pierre coming in. There's a bit of history between them, as we know. So I think he's going to step up. I think it's going to be extremely close. I don't think there's going to be much between them. No,
yeah, I do think it will be close. I would just have my money on Gasly edging it.
Yeah. Final question. Ollie has asked, why does Luke think he's Vettel?
Oh, so I got this the other day. It's basically because...
What are you doing with it? Don't get me wrong. I'm no style icon, okay? But
it's just, I don't even know what it looks like right now. Can I see it anywhere? It's just growing. I mean, to be fair, I've had a hat on all day, so that's why it's like flat. I'm just...
But what are you going for?
Don't know.
Vettel-esque?
Well, that is, someone said, it's like he missed Seb so much he turned into him. So, I don't know what the look is, but one day I'll cut it all off and that'll be the end of it.
Fair play.
For now, I'll wear a hat.
Unlike me with a receding hairline. So, yeah, it's all good. But I think, unless I've missed anything, that is it. That is the end of episode
2.
Episode 2 of season 2.
Yeah, season 2, episode 2.
So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Do get in touch. Do get involved. Follow us on all social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. But yeah, we got a lot of changes which have come out. We've got new designs on our Instagram page, so check us out on there. It's good to be back. And this time next week,
we'll be celebrating a Lewis Hamilton win.
And we'll be going mental. If Lewis Hamilton wins, I don't drink, but we can get smashed on the next episode.
Matt won't drink.
Non-alcohol beer. But yeah, guys, I hope you have a good week. We'll see you next week for a brand new episode. Luke, have a good week.
Yeah,
Take it easy.
And you guys.
And you guys.
You have a lovely week.
And we shall see you next week. Bye-bye.